Good afternoon. If you wouldn't mind taking your seats so we can get started on this very important occasion. Good afternoon. My name is Dave Kerner. I have the honor of serving as the Executive Director of the Department of Highway Safety and Motor Vehicles. Never again. Two simple words that, when said together, evoke so many emotions for so many people. Never again reminds us of the 6 million Jews murdered in the Holocaust. Never again reminds us that a society endeavored to exterminate an entire race and religion. Never again is so much more than just a phrase. It is not a declaration, nor is it a promise. If it is to be enduring, then it must be more than the simple sum of its parts. Never again is both a bridge to our past and a vision into our future, a future which almost never came. Never again is ultimately a way of life for the Jewish people. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm so honored and humbled to be in your presence, to be in the company of a Holocaust survivor, to share the stage with a governor whose actions embody the manifestation of never again, and to be graced by the sun, which shines upon the great state of Florida, where people of all faiths and followings can live their lives knowing that our freedom to practice our faith is endowed by God and protected by both his government and his fellow citizens. I remember my wedding just last year, in October of last year, on the bima of Temple Bethel. One of the happiest moments of my life was when I stomped on that glass and the guests erupted in Mazel Tov, and I became a husband. The glass, for those of you unfamiliar with this peculiar Jewish tradition, is placed on the floor in front of the groom. However, before it is smashed, it's traditional at most Jewish weddings for the rabbi to sing a Hebrew song called Im Eshkachef Yerushalayim, or in English, If You Forget Jerusalem. This commemorates the falling of Jerusalem and the destruction of the two Jewish temples that once stood there. It is said that whenever Jewish people experience immense joy, they should also remember the less joyous times in their ancestry. With celebration comes commemoration. So once the less beautiful times have been remembered, the time comes for the groom to break the glass. Why is this done? There are many reasons that Jewish grooms break a glass at the end of their ceremony, sealing their marriage to their bride. The first being, in keeping with the song that had just been sung, to commemorate the destruction faced by Jewish people over the past 2,000 years, a nod to the suffering that had come before. After all, if we can remember the dark times, even on the brightest of days, we'll never allow them to be forgotten, and through this process, we bring meaning to never again. I had the unique honor in 2016 to co-sponsor and vote on the legislation that created the Florida Holocaust Memorial. The text of Senate Bill 716 is both short and powerful. It is the intent of the legislature to recognize and commemorate the millions of people, including 6 million Jews murdered by the Nazis and their collaborators before and during World War II in Europe, and, most importantly, to honor the survivors of the Holocaust through the establishment of the Florida Holocaust Memorial. It is not the memorial itself that honors the survivors of the Holocaust, but rather the emotion that the memorial evokes when we are in its presence. We honor our beloved and cherished survivors by remembering the past. We remember the past so that we secure our future, and in doing so, we give life to the intent of never again. Today, of course, is a joyous occasion, and so I, of course, am compelled to remember our past by reading a short excerpt from a high-ranking Nazi official in the final throes of the Holocaust, contemplating the Jewish question. That is the question that he was contemplating, whether murdering only Jewish men was sufficient, or should women and children be included as well. quote, "We were faced with the question, what about the women and children? I decided to find a clear solution to this problem too. I did not consider myself justified to exterminate just the men, in other words, to kill them or to have them be killed, and allow the avengers of our sons and grandsons in the form of their grandchildren to grow up. The difficult decision had to be made to have these people disappear from the earth. The Jewish question in the countries that we occupy will be solved by the end of the year. Only remainders of odd Jews that manage to find hiding places will be left over. People may wonder," this is me speaking now, "people may wonder why Florida looks so differently than so many states following October 7th. Why were our campuses free from chaos? Why were our Jewish day schools and synagogues flanked by state troopers? Why did the governor order state troopers onto our college campuses? Why did our legislature enshrine this law in this memorial? Because never again is so much more than just a phrase. It's not a declaration, nor is it a promise. If it is to be enduring, then it must be more than the simple sum of its parts. Never again is both a bridge to our past and a vision into our future, a future which almost never came. Never again is a way of life. Mr. Schachter and Consul General Elbaz Starlinski, I hope that as the shadows of the past attempt to block the blanket of freedom and safety that the Florida sunlight represents, that you find comfort in this moment. And on this occasion, that in Florida we recognize that our future and safety and security is not promised, but that we work with the intent to secure our future and that of the Jewish people, and that in the great state of Florida, never again is more than a phrase. It is a way of life. It is my honor now to call to the stage Senator Tina Polsky for comments. Senator.
Good afternoon. The unveiling of today's Holocaust Memorial represents the culmination of almost a decade of work. I would like to thank the original sponsors of the 2016 bill for making this a reality, Senator Sobel, and former Representative, now Congressman Jared Moskowitz, and President Don Gates for his support. I would also like to thank the efforts of the many supporters and workers of the program, including the Holocaust Documentation and Education Center, the Florida Department of Management Services, and the Division of Historical Resources. Today we gather in remembrance of the millions of lives lost during one of history's darkest times. The Holocaust was not just an atrocity of death and destruction. It was a systematic erasure of humanity, dignity, and hope. As we stand here in front of this memorial, we honor the memories of those who were taken from us. May this memorial serve not only as a testament to the suffering endured, but as a reminder to all of us of the importance of vigilance in ensuring that such horrors are never repeated. Let us pledge to never forget and to always fight against hate, prejudice, and intolerance in all forms for all people. My Judaism impacts everything that I do, as an elected official, as a sister, a daughter, a friend, a wife, and a mother. From it, I gather my commitment to justice, truth, and tikkun olam, the Jewish tradition to repair the world. I know that this memorial serves as a testimony to those values and will inspire empathy, community, respect, and courage for generations to come. I thank all of you for coming to be with us today and for your commitment to honor and support our community. Thank you. It is my distinct honor to recognize the former wonderful Senator Eleanor Sobel.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon. What a glorious day. Did you know that Florida is one of 2 capitals? The other capital is Ohio, that has a Holocaust monument at its capital. Thank you, Senator Polsky, for your warm introduction of me. You were a brilliant, compassionate senator. At that time, Congressman Jared Moskowitz was my House sponsor. Thank you, Governor Ron DeSantis, Senate President Ben Albritton, and House Speaker Daniel Perez for your support. Then, Senate President Don Gates, a titan of a mensch. Now, I wrote the speech and it turned into bench. I said, you're no bench, you're a mensch. A little bit of Yiddish. Who actually budgeted for this monument 10 years ago. And I am grateful for today that I am here in my lifetime. Also, how did I get involved in this bill? Well, it was thank you to Steve Ufelder, may he rest in peace, for bringing this idea to me, and I jumped on it. And thank you to Representative Mike Gottlieb, who orchestrated today and Israel Week. Rep. Gottlieb is also the chair of the Bipartisan Jewish Legislative Caucus. Thank you to all its members for working together. And thank you to the Bulldog. You all know who the Bulldog is. Senator Randy Fine, who fights for Israel and against anti-Semitism every day. So this is a bipartisan effort. Thank you to Executive Director Scott Ehrlich from the Posnick JCC for bringing all the people here today who posted pictures, and Executive Director Rosita Koningsberg from the Holocaust Center, who also contributed many photographs of Florida families who were victims of the tragic Holocaust. Thank you to the Israeli Consul General, Mayor Elbaz Starinsky. Holocaust deniers, take note. Holocaust deniers, take note of these Florida authentic family photos of those who escaped crematoriums and suffered throughout the war. I too had relatives that perished in the Holocaust in Czechoslovakia. A cousin who was a dentist to ambassadors, who thought he would be protected. He was wrong. He was murdered. We should never forget the Holocaust, a tragic act of hate, prejudice, and inhumanity. With the exponential rise in anti-Semitism, we must continue our vigilance. Thank you to all for your perseverance as well. I am grateful and humbled for today. Thank you from the bottom of my heart. And there's only one safe spot for this, right here. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Sobel. True honor to be here with you today and to hear your words. It is now my great honor to invite to the stage the governor of the great state of Florida, Ron DeSantis.
Thank you. Good afternoon. Thank you so much. We pride ourselves on saying never again, but there are times when that resolve is tested, and October 7th, 2023 represented one of those times. That day was the largest slaughter of Jewish men, women, and children since the Holocaust itself. And make no mistake, Hamas, if they had the capability, they would commence a second Holocaust. That is their goal. And even in the aftermath of that barbarity, people like me were saying that, you know, you're going to start to see rationalizations, you're going to start to see all these excuses as to why somehow Hamas was not fully responsible. And in Florida, we never succumbed to that. We knew that the problem is Hamas terrorists, and the solution is to eliminate Hamas terrorists. So we've stood proudly with the state of Israel through these very trying times. Days after October 7th, I issued an executive order authorizing the state of Florida to carry out logistical rescue and evacuation operations for Americans and provide necessary law enforcement support for Jewish communities in Florida. At the time, the U.S. administration was not being responsive to people that were just trying to leave what became a war zone. Our administration evacuated almost 700 Americans back to Florida over a series of 4 flights from Israel to Florida, and we were happy to do that. We also worked with the legislature during a special legislative session and took executive action to ensure the protection of Florida's Jewish community, including directing the Department of Highway Patrol to protect Jewish day schools and synagogues throughout the state, directing the state university and college system to ease transfer requirements for any out-of-state Jewish students who were facing discrimination in light of October 7th, and providing new funding to protect Jewish institutions and houses of worship. And Commissioner Kerner mentioned, you didn't see any Columbia universities happen in the state of Florida. And when people ask me why did it not happen in Florida, the answer is very simple, because if any university president allowed that to happen in Florida, they would be out of a job the next day, no questions asked. And while you have a right to say and believe things that are distasteful and even hateful, we will hold you accountable for your conduct. And if you are out violating the rights of other people, if you're issuing threats, if you're trying to intimidate Jewish students, faculty, or anybody for any reason, we will kick you out of campus. We will withhold your diploma. We have done that, and we have held these people accountable. The inmates do not run the asylum in Florida's universities. We were proud to sign the budget in June of last year to provide, amongst other things, $20 million in funding to bolster security at Florida's Jewish day schools and Jewish preschools. We did $5 million in funding for the Museum of Hope and Humanity in downtown Orlando, which will serve to honor those we lost in the Holocaust. $3.5 million in funding for the Jewish Day School Student Transportation Safety Initiative, which assists Jewish students in South Florida by providing transportation to and from school while ensuring safety and security of the students, and over $7 million to various Holocaust Memorial and Education Centers around the state. And since I've been governor, we have bolstered Holocaust education in our K-12 schools. And again, you have a right for free speech, but a teacher that is in front of students trying to minimize the Holocaust, they get a pink slip and they're no longer going to be teaching our students. And we've really led the fight on so many efforts. We were the leading state to combat BDS. We've led the fight to make sure our universities were safe for all students. We have bolstered Holocaust education, and we've developed incredible ties between the state of Florida and the state of Israel. We are the #1 place that Israeli Americans are currently moving to of all 50 states, and that was not true just a short time ago. So the fact that Florida is one of 2 states to have a Holocaust memorial is very fitting given our support for the Jewish people, both our citizens here, first and foremost, but also our great relationship with the state of Israel. And as part of our continued support for the Jewish people, as well as the remembrance of those lost during the Holocaust, I'm honored to be here today to unveil this Florida Holocaust Memorial in our state's Memorial Park. This memorial, constructed of iron and limestone, displays faces and names of Holocaust survivors who later made their homes in the state of Florida. The state was proud to work with Florida-based Jewish groups and Holocaust remembrance associations to gather survivors' names and pictures so that visitors to Florida's capital can remember the impact these amazing individuals had on our communities for generations to come. In Florida, we are committed to upholding the truth in the words, never forget. And we will continue to sponsor causes and find ways to ensure our next generation is able to learn about the horrible ordeal that these survivors had to face. This memorial is the first edition in Memorial Park, and we will have additional memorials in the not-too-distant future. Now, we're also honored to be joined here today for our unveiling by a Holocaust survivor, David Schechter, who has dedicated his life to traveling our state and educating Floridians about the horrors of the Holocaust from his first-hand account. David was born in Czechoslovakia in 1929 in a small town on the border of Hungary. In April of 1940, at just 11 years old, he, his mother, and his 3 siblings were taken by cattle car to Auschwitz, where he was forcibly separated from his mother and sisters and never saw them again. After some time, David and his brother were both transferred. They faced the brutality of those concentration camps for over 3 years until his brother was murdered. But David remained in camp until he escaped as the Allied armies advanced. He eventually made his way to America in 1950, where he registered to attend college. He settled in Miami in 1956 and started his own company. He's now called Miami home for almost 70 years and has made a profound impact on our South Florida community. I'm honored today to award David the Governor's Medal of Freedom for his decades of work sharing his experience with Floridians and dedicating his life to ensuring the lessons of the Holocaust are taught to future generations. Never again. At a time when anti-Semitism is rearing its ugly head across college campuses in the United States, it's more important than ever for stories like David's to be shared and preserved for future generations so that they truly never forget what can happen when hateful ideology is left unchecked. I pray that David continues to live a long and blessed life and that people may continue to learn from his story for years and generations to come. Now I'm going to go down and present the medal for David. Then I think we're going to have an unveiling of the memorial. So do we have the medal with us? Okay.
Oh, my God Almighty, Governor, you're a blessing. But Governor, your whole state is a blessing. Florida became my addiction. I've been here since 1957. Governor, there's nothing like this state, and there is nothing like you. You, Governor, and the people that work with you, you have never lost your humility. You have never lost the decency. God Almighty, decency that I had been denied, and the decency of 6 million people, and the decency in the world. And you have maintained this unbelievable, beyond words, beautiful state with all the goodness of God and the decency available. God bless you, Rob. God bless you.
Thank you so much.
I am.
It's inspirational to hear you and see you and all you've done. So this is well deserved.
Thank you so much.
You got a lot more in the tank too. So all right, here we're gonna go. Are we gonna pull it over here? All right, so let's help us pull this down. We're gonna unveil it. There's a big step there. This side or the other side? Okay. Come over here, David. Come over here with us and help us do this. So we're gonna go over here. Okay. Now, are we just pulling on this side? David, get in here. You guys grab some. The senators. Yeah. Come on. Hey, how are you? All right, we're gonna do that. David, you gotta